Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, welcome to TFYLP, episode 434. We're live tonight, June 14th. Oh man, my videos seems weird. Hopefully we don't have any technical difficulties, but I'm sure we will. So anyway, joining me tonight is Don.
Hey, everybody.
And Paul.
Hi.
And Nick.
Hello.
And Phil.
What's going on?
So thank you, Nick, for joining us tonight. I know that you have a very incredibly busy schedule with
Yes.
opening a comic shop and whatnot.
That
So
is true.
what's going on with that?
So I've been absent the last few weeks because, as some of you may already know, I am in fact opening a comic shop in Brooklyn's Industry City. St. Mark's Comics is coming back, and now I'm an owner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's we take possession of the space in 1 week from today, and then we open July 30th. So it's all very down to the wire, and things are cooking right along. We're just chugging right along there. So yeah, St. Mark's Comics 2.0.
There you go. That should be incredibly exciting.
Exciting, nervous making. Yes, all of these things.
You got this, buddy.
It's just, a lot of work in a very compressed amount of time. So
A lot of moving stuff.
yes. And apparently a lot of buying toys because we just bought another gigantic toy collection today. So yeah.
Any Dino Riders in there?
No, but I will keep you in mind.
I want all the boxed Visionary stuff.
Yeah, all right.
But yeah, and welcome back, Don. It's been a minute since you've been on the show as well.
It's been several minutes because just to let the viewers know who I am, if that's okay, I am Headmaster Don. I have been in the fandom since before the fandom existed because I'm old. And I am now engaged.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
The girlfriend has gone from girlfriend to fiance.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And we are getting married October of next year because we wanted to wait till the world to be slightly less crazy than it is right now. I am long time in the fandom. Not real big on the boards. So if you see me on the boards, it's because I'm complaining about the eBay scammer that took me for $220 for Thomas, Fans Toys Thomas, that I did get a refund on. So unfortunately, I'm just not on the boards that much.
You say unfortunately, I say good for you. The boards are terrible. I hate the boards.
No, I mean, having grown up on Alt Toys Transform, well, not grown up, but having been there when Alt Toys Transformers started, the board wars is kind of like old hat for me. It's also very tiring, so it's something I usually try to avoid at all costs because I'm old. I've been there. I've done that. I bought the T-shirt.
Right. I always think it's funny that people complain about wherever they don't hang out. So they're like, oh, Facebook is a cesspool, or oh, Twitter's a cesspool, or the boards are a cesspool. And I was like, they can all be cesspools at times.
True.
So, but yeah, congratulations. So are you going to do the honeymoon at TFCon then?
No. Actually, we're not really sure where we're going for the honeymoon. We're thinking about a cruise. A lot of stuff's on the table.
Yeah.
But you know me, I don't like leaving money on the table. So there's that. But yeah, again, we gave us plenty of time to make these decisions based on how the health of the world is going at the time. So right now we're just focusing on the wedding. We're kind of house hunting, but in this market, everything is literally selling almost as fast as it goes up. And the few realtors we've talked to, people have made offers above listing just to make sure they get the property.
It's crazy.
Yep. No, I've had friends that sold their house, and I think they had 20 offers. So I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, one thing about my area is that they approved a casino going in town where a mill, a textile mill used to be. So all the property around the town for like 20, 30 miles, everyone's wanting to, hedge their bets on it's going to be like super valuable now, I guess.
Is this season 4 of Ozark?
So tonight's topic, I think partly was from, there was a kind of a Twitter thread going a couple weeks ago where people are talking about if they ran Hasbro, what would they do? And so it kind of, this topic kind of spurred off of that. But I guess, Nick, this was kind of your topic as well. So what are we covering tonight?
My elevator pitch was for everybody who's here tonight to pitch their dream project. If you had your run of things at Hasbro and you got to make one project come to reality, what would it be and how would you do it? And we just, take turns and everybody gets to ask questions about the project as if we're sitting in a pitch meeting. So that's where we are. Who's going first? Should I go first?
I mean, sure, topic, Nick. I think you should.
Oh, okay. All right.
Pitch us.
All right. So you may have noticed over the last few years that I've been harping on the comic books side of things, and now with good reason. My dream project is a thing that I've even said on this show once or twice before. I really wish that they would do direct-to-DVD features, adaptations of famous comic arcs and whatnot, or just popular canon story, even if it's like stuff from the file cards or any other source material that isn't already animated, and just do direct-to-DVD animations of the best stuff. Like the way that DC and Warner have been doing those direct-to-DVD animated features for, the better part of a decade or a little longer now, if you think about it. They did like the Wonder Woman one was really good. They've done the Killing Joke, which they butchered.
New Frontier is a great.
New Frontier, yes, that was a great one.
Definitely go New Frontier.
Yeah. So I would like to do that as a project, and the way that this would get sold is you get at a $40 MSRP your DVD and an action figure packed in a box together, and it's all sold to specialty shops. That's like Entertainment Earth, Big Bad Toy Store, and any of the shops serviced by Diamond Comic Distributors. Comic shops, 2,000 shops across the country, all just to carry this product and have it distributed through Diamond. The sorts of stories that I'd like to see adapted, I have a top 10 list here. I would like to see the following things. And the figure in each pack would be approximately deluxe class. A lot of this could probably even be remolded from existing things. First up, I've got the Megatron and Ratchet Fusion as a Red Series figure with an adaptation from Marvel Comics' All Fall Down, which was really only given that name in the graphic novel reprints. But it's that, the story. It's where Megatron and Ratchet get fused together and they, basically plead for death at Optimus's hands. And it's some of my favorite stuff, and it really stuck with me as a kid. So that's my number one there. I would kill for a figure of the Megatron Ratchet Fusion, and I think that's the way to do it. Number two on my list is a deluxe rung with, and this will be part one of a three-part here. We go with a Lost Light adaptation, More Than Meets the Eye / Lost Light. You do the first chunk with a deluxe rung. You do part 2 with a chrome dome and a rewind. And then you do part 3 with a modernized hot rod in the style of the art from Lost Light. I think that those would do well. I'd like to see a Glyph and a Tap Out 2-pack with some sort of original story based on either the BotCon material or based on that Valentine's Day special that they did. Just because I'd really like to get those figures. I've got Iron Fist and Physitron, whichever you want to call them, with The Last Stand of the Wreckers. I think that is a great 5-part story. I think it lends itself well to the short format of a DVD, and I think it would be killer. And I think that would instantly be a bestseller. I think you got
your DVDs are kind of more towards the hardcore collectors and adult collectors, so that type of a story would be more appropriate, like those types of things, rather than it just necessarily being for kids.
Exactly. I'd also like to see a 2-part All Hail Megatron, and there's any number of characters you could do in there. You could do a new Ironhide, you could do a Prowl, or maybe a Sunstreaker, or maybe even what was the Insecticon's name? Was it Bob?
Bob, yeah.
Yeah, you could do a Bob. But there's a bunch of guys to choose from, and I think that any of them would be good fits for a 2-part All Hail Megatron animated special. Cliff Jumper with a spotlight vignettes where you do a bunch of 7-minute shorts, the way that they did the DC did with the Spectre, and there were a couple other short features that were backups on the other DVDs. I think that's where that Shazam one was from. Shazam versus Superman, maybe? I can't remember, but anyway, there was spotlight vignettes with a Cliff Jumper. And then another Spotlight Vignettes Volume 2 comes with a cup with that damaged Outback carcass as an accessory. Because that really stuck with me. And then that's my pitch. Those are my 10 things, and there's plenty more material you could pick from. You could do a Transformers Animated Season 4. You could do a Beast Wars story, and get some of that in there. You could go back and do BotCon things if you were so inclined to pick up some of those fiction threads. I'd say Shattered Glass, but I'm getting all of that now, and I'm so happy.
Yeah, we're already getting that. So Nick, would these be kind of more one-off, spotlight type stories? It's kind of like a best of some of the stories over the years, or do you think that this would be more of an aligned continuity where it would, everything would kind of try to mesh together?
I would really want to see these things be standalone DVDs. They're just adapting the material. They're not trying to mash it all into one continuity or anything like that. They are what they are. It's, hey, look, here's this great fiction in a new format. Something that's more accessible to folks who maybe don't read as much.
Nick, yeah, two things actually. One, do you think, again, if you were doing it, it would be made like this? Mm-hmm. But would it be more feasible to consider it being done as a motion comic?
Oh God, no! Those things are terrible. I've seen a
few that won't. I'm just saying, do you think maybe sticking with the comic motif?
If you had to drop the price by $15 and had to do it for $24.99, you could do it as a motion comic, okay, I guess.
I'm just wondering. I was just thinking maybe sticking with the whole motion comic shop. And I want to add honorable mention to your list if I could.
Yeah, go for it.
Marvel, the Headmasters 1 through 4, as a new rebirth.
Okay.
Call it the rebirth, but use the Marvel 1 through. Again, nothing against the rebirth. Because it is one of my favorite probably my favorite of Generation 1 cartoon. But use Headmasters 1 through 4 miniseries and just title it as the rebirth. Now, since we've already gotten the 4 small Headmasters, I would love to see them do a small Fortress Maximus, using the Kabaya kit and putting the Kabaya Fortress Maximus in with that, already assembled and painted and stuff. Although again, that's just if I rule the world.
Sure.
So there has to be
some deluxe toy they could retool into a Fort Max stand-in, though, right?
You're the boss, right? You tell us.
Right. I would assume they could probably do some of those Micromasters that they released, do some type of retool with that, the Micromaster-based deluxes. Mm-hmm. Is the reason why, this like that model works for DC, but it doesn't necessarily work for Hasbro. I mean, it just seems like that Hasbro has never focused that. Is just, do they consider themselves more of a kids brand than some of the DC stuff, or what?
I wonder if it doesn't work for Hasbro because having an animation studio is relatively new for them, whereas, DC and Warner have been a thing for 30, 40 years now, whatever it was. So I wonder if they just weren't set up to do that when these DVDs were more popular.
And I think, Lucas, maybe to your point too, is that, kind of combining yours and Nick's point, that the idea of DC Comics doing things for a more mature audience, the comic book side has been doing that for several decades.
Yeah.
Hasbro still sees themselves as a kids brand, and even with the Netflix shows that are, slightly older skewing, are still like kids can watch it.
I question the validity of a DVD pack-in at this point.
Yeah, you think that train has just sailed?
I think we are in a year called 2021 where computers don't even come with fucking DVD players anymore. So, like, the only way you're going to watch those, I guess, is on your
download
Xbox
code. What do you want, Paul?
It's not a DVD.
Boy.
It's going to be a comic book or something. Yeah.
Right. Well, they're
Comic
doing
books
that
even
though.
more analog.
They're doing that, like the Shattered
And they're
Glass
doing that.
figures. Like they're doing a special series of Shattered Glass, and they're throwing it in as pack-ins with the like Hasbro's doing it.
Conceptually, I get what you're saying. I guess I just is there what's the modern way of doing that? Is it a download code? Is it just like, hey, this is out there whether you buy it or not, but the product funds the fact that it exists?
What was the Hasbro TV network?
The Hub.
The Hub.
So the Hub relaunches as a streaming service, and with each toy, you get a 1-month subscription to the Hub streaming, so you can watch, Transformers Prime whenever you want.
I mean, that's actually kind of a cool idea. Some synergistic idea like that. That'd be cool. Why did they not do that when they had the Hub? I mean, I guess it wasn't a subscription service, but
yeah, you didn't have that.
Streaming wasn't there yet when it was.
Yeah, you were still watching DVDs back then, so that was the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I'm kind of surprised, some of these mobile games they've done and whatnot, that they haven't done more of a scan this figure and upload it into the game type of thing. I think that they did that with
Angry Birds.
They did it with
RID.
RID.
Angry Birds, yeah. Yeah,
And
RID, they did it with that too.
Yeah, on the symbols you scan. It was actually pretty cool. I mean, if you were, I never did it, but like conceptually, I thought it was awesome. If you buy the toy, each one has a unique symbol around their Autobot or Decepticon insignia, and that would like give you content in the game. So it sort of worked that way, but it was so non-collector based. It was like very much based in the age group for the actual toy line. So
right. Well, I just think of like Skylanders or Disney Infinity and some of those types of things where it's like that's almost like the point of the game is to get these extra figures and scan it in and whatnot. So
did a tangent a bit, but did you guys catch the news on the Niantic game today?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw
I'm excited
that.
for that.
So it's
Transformers
Pokemon Go, but Transformers, pretty much.
I guess.
Sort of.
New World Order, baby.
Is one of the people still playing Pokemon Go 5 years later? Yeah, I'm down for a Transformers version of that.
Lighthouse will be into it.
Yeah.
The only thing that
And
frustrates
Boost,
me
and
with
Boost
that, like Pokemon Go is the same thing where I didn't want to go out of my way to get these things. And like, that's where I see the people like you and Christian and whatever, where you're like, you plan your evening around Pokemon, or at least Christian does sometimes, like around Pokemon Go and like what Pokestops you can get. It's like, I don't want to do that.
Well, that game made Pokemon like, it was like a brand new brand all of a sudden, like this could, if the game is good and people play it, this could be huge for Transformers. Like this could be bigger than like the fucking movie or something.
Well, but I think with the movie hitting, like if say this gets big and they hope like, whatever the movie comes out next year, by the time they launch and whatever else and whatnot, like it could really give it a boost.
I know
it could get a new audience, is what I'm saying. Brand new audience for.
They've got a version of the game for Harry Potter, and I don't know if that does as well. I know there's.
It doesn't.
I don't think it
does not do as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's Niantic, but there's another version of that kind of game for Jurassic Park that I think is moderately successful. But Jurassic Park again is, still a pretty evergreen brand at this point. What 30 is it 28 years this year from the original release of Jurassic Park in the theaters? So, yeah.
Now I feel like a dinosaur.
There are interns that you work with that were born well after that movie came out.
Gallimimus!
Paul, I had a second to think about that DVD quip, and I think you could still do a DVD if the whole point is that's how we pay for this project to get made, and then it goes to streaming in 6 months to keep the ball rolling. You get a 6-month lead time where you got to buy the DVD, you got to get this figure, you got to buy it's a collector package, and then the program goes to streaming to drive the streaming content.
I mean, I think that the DVD thing or Blu-ray or whatever it may be could still work based on our demographic, like the collectors, the people that are older and whatnot that still buy that, physical media and whatnot.
Yeah, especially if you're doing things that are more adult oriented or R-rated, I think, as Zaldron said in the comments here. But if you're doing stuff that's a little more adult, I think you can do the DVD Blu-ray package kind of dealy.
Yeah, I do think it just makes does make some sense because of collectors. Like, we like to collect stuff. Like, they're releasing the movie yet again on 4K whatever and the Steelbook and well, I don't know, whatever.
I pre-ordered mine.
Right,
I did too. I have a feeling this is the last time that's going to happen, though.
Yeah,
like on a physical piece of media.
Until the next version of physical media happens.
I think to Paul's point, we're done with physical media, though.
I don't think we are. No, absolutely not.
I'm kind of reminded of that scene from Futurama where they had like early holograms. They were black and white. So we'll get like some kind of like thing that projects black and white holograms because everything starts over in black and white because you have to work up to color holograms. So we'll have because someone on Twitter posted a clip of Transformers the movie in black and white. One, I thought, when did DC and Warner release a Transformers movie because there's no color in it? And two, that looked really good in black and white. It was a really different take on it. So we'll get a black and white hologram showings first, then we'll get color later on.
Yeah, on your Virtual Boy, that'll be the first
way
to watch it.
Virtual Boys hurt my eye. I get all of the headaches, the pain.
Any chance you guys read the Ready Player One book?
No.
Well, there's a take on like future media in that book that's kind of amazing and pretty forward thinking, where it's like they have the movie War Games, but you plug into the movie and you can play the characters.
Right.
So the movie you enact the movie, and depending on what you do, like the movie plays, and it's like a licensed type of media that like other companies suddenly get interested in doing in the book. I don't remember if they follow it in the movie or not, but I've always been like, wow, that is actually pretty. That could actually happen, with the Oculus Rift and stuff. You go back and watch Gone with the Wind, and instead of watching them talk over here, you can go. If they rendered out the whole house, you could like go into the kitchen and like make a sandwich or something while the scene's going on. But like, imagine they were able. It would be very difficult to do that for Transformers the movie because it's not, it's an animated film, but they could just render it out. I don't know. I would be interested.
Well, but we're thinking like, Transformers Bayverse, you could do that pretty easily. You can just take some like cutting room footage from like the last Transformers, the last night or whatever, right? Like they probably have 20 hours of footage they didn't use and just throw that into a VR game.
Yeah, then you can be Simmons and you can let Bumblebee pee on you. And that would be such a great moment.
Oh well, I
So-
guess if you got to do that, you're in luck.
So, but yeah, no, I could see like a VR experience. I think that could be another good idea. Virtual reality for for the Oculus or whatever across the platforms. I think they did that for Voltron, I believe.
Did they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a Voltron like experience on the PlayStation.
That's neat.
So do we got another pitch?
Yeah, I got one that ties in kind of well to Nick's.
Oh.
It's eerily similar, so I'm mildly disappointed. It's not quite stealing my thunder, but it's closer than I would have liked it to have been. I'm just pulling up my list here of specifically what I wanted. So this would be like a spin-off of Studio Series. And again, kind of something similar to what DC has already done, where DC has a line of toys that are the DC Direct or whatever they call it these days, that are very artist specific. And so doing artist specific Transformers toys.
Oh.
So you can do this with both the comic book and some of the cartoons. So you go back to the early Marvel days, and you've got what Ian Aiken's blaster, where it was the goggle blaster with the fins on the side of the head.
Yeah.
Then or you could do Don Perlin's blaster, which is more like what we saw in the cartoon, but more specifically, what I thought of was Don Perlin's Straxus. To get a nice 80s Marvel Comics Straxus toy.
Hell yeah.
Of course, if you're talking 80s Marvel Comics, you're talking Andrew Wildman, so an Andrew Wildman Galvatron, which people have been kind of craving lately. And that's a fairly easy retool right there. You do the Kingdom Galvatron with a new head to give it that more humanistic, head and face, and then do the comic book coloring. Certainly, you can do the modern stuff, like for Milne. I said crankcase because I was trying to think of, who hasn't been done by third party yet. And then a big one I thought too was some of the early, Transformers designs by, and do a Cyclonus, that skinny, almost emaciated Cyclonus look. Since we don't have, I don't know if we're going to get a Studio Series 86 Cyclonus, since we just got Kingdom. Instead of Studio Series, call this Artist Series, and then you can take it to the cartoons as well. So this could be a format where we finally get the Derek J. Wyatt Constructicons, some of those that people have been asking for. So again, this would be kind of a tough toy line to do, because a lot of the toys would look very different. The Derek J. Wyatt toys would look very different than the Andrew Wildman based toys. But Hasbro's done this sort of stuff. I mean, we've seen with Transformers Animated, Transformers Prime, that they can do some really standard body Transformers. Transformers don't have to be blocks, that turn into other blocks. They can be really sleek, streamlined things that have unique shapes. So it would be pretty disparate in terms of the release, and you'd probably have a pretty slow release schedule. But again, similar to what they're doing through Shattered Glass, where it's just the online stores that get this, or the comic book specialty shops that get this. But that's my pitch. That's my idea, is a Artist Series Transformers toy line.
Sure.
Hey, Phil.
Yep.
Do you think? And I'm not saying this to be argumentative. I'm just saying, do you think this is exactly what the red line should have been? They wouldn't transform, but you'd be able to capture each style of character without worrying about so you'd have the best representation appearance-wise of that particular artist style, but you'd have to sacrifice a transformation. But this seems like it would be what Red was made to do.
I'm gonna piggyback on that, Don. This is the question I was pretty much gonna ask too.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to sacrifice transformation on some of the more unique designs and go with a red style figure? I mean, a lot of them could just be done as, head swaps and new paint jobs, maybe the occasional, his shoulder is remolded pointy or something in some cases, but there are going to be the more eccentric designs, the more out there designs. The further they get from the base model, the more you have to go to that red design. And would you be willing to give up the transformations and go with the reds?
Say no.
Say no. I would say no, because if you look at some of the first edition Transformer Prime toys, like Optimus Prime, first edition Prime, Optimus is an amazing toy. The silhouette of that toy looks just like the silhouette of the cartoon, and that's not an easy silhouette to replicate in toy form. And the truck looks amazing. Mm-hmm. You look at Animated Blur, and Animated Blur is an amazing toy that turns into a car. Prime Viacon, same sort of thing. So Hasbro has done this. I'm not saying that it's easy to do, but like I want a Straxus that looks like a fat, like old school wrestler that turns into that crazy space gun. Is that easy to do? No, but I'm just the concept. I don't
it would have to be a submarine now, right? It's
What's
a space submarine.
Yeah, whatever Straxus is. I don't know. It's a flying,
not a gun. Certainly not a gun.
Flying turret. Whatever you want to call it.
Not a gun.
But I mean, you look at Enoch's here is talking about the Thrilling 30 Springer. I mean, there's another great example of a toy that looks, something ripped from the comic book page. So even Hasbro has done it. The Generation Swerve is pretty good looking, Milne, Roche, whoever they really pulled the face from. Yeah. So sometimes, you just need to get the face of swap out the heads. Some are going to require more engineering than others, but I think it would still be just a fun line that if, again, you spread it out over kind of like what they're doing with Studio Series, where we maybe only get 2 or 3 releases a year. Excuse me.
Wait a minute. That's not how Studio Series works, buddy.
Right.
No, it's not how.
It might feel that way.
They're doing 2 or 3 waves a year. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think it would be a fun and interesting line. Would you get a ton of buy-in from your average everyday kid buying it? Even people looking at Pulse, maybe not. So maybe you do it a low production run. I'm not again sitting here saying I've got all the kinks worked out of this.
Price point on this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, again, DC has been doing this for literally decades with their lines, where you can walk into a comic book shop and buy an Alex Ross style Batman or a Darwin Cook style Batman.
They killed off DC Batman. Direct, right?
Yes, I know.
Yeah, it kills me.
But I mean,
but again,
the new figures that they have coming out too, the McFarlane toys, like, aren't they? I mean, there's a little bit of that, I guess. I mean, it's not really, but kind of.
You can tell the artists that McFarlane used to work with, because their toys look like the Greg Capullo toys look just like the Greg Capullo comics. Even some of the Tony Daniels toy, kind of characters look like the comics. And both of those are guys who used to work for Todd drawing Spawn back in the 90s. Spawn, God, where did that come from? As you get into the animated style that McFarlane's doing, those did look pretty good. And I think they moved pretty well, but some of the more like the Jim Lee style Superman, it doesn't look like Jim Lee artwork come to life. And I think McFarlane was trying to do that, and maybe Jim Lee is just someone whose art doesn't translate well to 3D.
I would absolutely beg to differ on that.
I mean, it could, but again, you've got toy companies that have done it, and again, Hasbro has done it. Mm-hmm. Hasbro did it with Animated. Hasbro did it with Prime. This would just be doing it from a more eclectic source material.
Mm-hmm.
I could see this working only if you are actually in charge of Hasbro and you're making them do it, because this sounds like a lot of work for not a lot of reward from a business sense. So it's like a passion project.
Sure.
And it sounds like what Nick said, it's going to be expensive. Because it's going to be catering to like Krusties. Because Andrew Wildman, like Transformer, like who, if you're under 30, you don't care, right? Like, I just don't think you do. Maybe I'm wrong.
Why you got to put a number to that, Paul?
Yeah, I'm just making up a number. There's a limit.
Imagine
there's a hard
line.
line.
30.
I don't know where the line is. It is a hard line though.
Yeah.
But I make it akin to like Masterpiece. You know, that's more like your release schedule, where it's like,
Right.
one or two a year, and maybe they like tell us about it at Toy Fair, and it maybe comes out by the end of the year. You know, I wouldn't say it's crowdfunded like a HasLab thing, but it's a limited like made to order sort of item, but it has to hit at least. Well, I guess then it would be crowdfunded. It would have to.
I mean, they have like some of those flame toys.
This out to Super 7 to do.
But they won't.
No,
they
but
won't.
I think you steal the Super 7 business model.
What was that? You cut out a little, Phil.
Yeah. What did you say?
I was saying steal the Super 7 business model.
Okay.
It has to be Hasbro if it's going to transform. And I'm thinking, originally I was going to say what you guys said is like, oh, the Red Series can do that, no problem. You know, you can make the signature Red Series or something, the Artist Red Series. But to make it actually transform, you know, that's really the magic part of doing anything like this, especially when you're stylizing everything to a visual aesthetic. You know, then it's really fun if it transforms good. That's what makes those Prime toys amazing and makes those animated toys amazing, where the gimmick was actually how cool it transforms, you know, and it looks
stepped off the screen.
It didn't have to have automorph or, you know, spring-loaded bullshit.
Yeah.
So I guess I kind of see it as it would be a long-term slow burn thing. Like, you know, Masterpiece, it took quite a few years to get like up to MP10. You know, it took a while. So, you know, get to Artist Series 10, take you at least 5 years.
One thing I was gonna say is that it seems like a lot of these are gonna be lower production runs and whatnot. I mean, I know that Flame Toys and 3A have both like had a pretty good success with their figures. So I almost kind of feel like if you do something like that to where you could really, you know, do it well, because like that's the trouble I feel like with the Red Series. It's like why do I want this? Like the paint job is not that great. Like it just doesn't, like, to me I feel like the Generations figures that are coming out now are better representation of the character than the Red Series, for me at least. And so that's where, to really get it to where it looks how you want it, I would think you'd want that higher price point. And so I think if you could release something in that, you know, the $100 range, $100 to $200, I think that would probably sell pretty well and be successful. But you could still do it, like you said, you know, whatever, 4 year, 3 or whatever it may be.
I think if you started with some of the layups, like if you started with an Andrew Wildman Galvatron, where the only thing you're necessarily sculpting new would be the head, you know, is it going to be exactly, you know, the right body size if you use the Keenan Galvatron? Not exactly. But you know, that could be the first sort of dip in the toe in the water, where you give them a new head, give them a new paint scheme, and, you know, even Blaster. You know, you could have Blaster turn into, you know, regular tape deck, but give them the different artist style heads that, you know, you can even swap out from, because Blaster was one of those dudes that, depending who drew him, he had very different looks in the Marvel comics in the 80s. So give us, you know, a Blaster with two different heads. You know, and again, those are
you the
toys
boss?
you could take.
You're the boss of Hasbro, and you're gonna accept remolds for this awesome project.
You know,
what are you talking about? Remolds is the core.
Here.
Remolds is the core of Hasbro.
Yeah. It's sort of in the business plan, dude.
Even if he's the boss, he has.
So that's why there's 3 Seekers sitting behind Lucas's shoulder, because it's just like, oh, we just we make this one toy and make them 3 guys. There we go.
He might be the boss, but they're still shareholders.
Sure.
Right, exactly. Well, I wonder too, could you do it where, like how they do, you know, remolds now, where you have a certain, you know, core figure, like this is how the transformation is, you already have that set, and then the artists are the ones that are coming in and designing kind of the outer bits and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, you know, supposedly we're going to get a remold of Galvatron to be a new Straxus. So again, you could do that, where you could just keep the same engineering, similar to like what they did with Ectotron and the DeLorean toy, whose name escapes me right now, Gigawatt. You know, where you just, you know, that I think is actually even a good sort of business model for this. Although, you know, you'd have less of less of a demand, less of an audience for this than you would with the crossovers. But in terms of, you know, the release and the price point of this, it would probably be similar to what we see from crossovers.
There you go. That's the ticket.
Yeah. And I'm not looking for masterpiece style. I'm happy with like mainline quality toys on this. Just you know, make it look good. Make it look like it did on the page back in, you know, 1986.
Yeah, I'm just curious though if Hasbro has the pull of artists, you know, because again, like, you know, McFarlane and Jim Lee and some of those artists, it works just you know, those are pretty famous, and I know a lot of the Transformers artists are known by all of us, but maybe not necessarily like the public at large.
If you paired them with a famous cover or pinup shot, right? If the packaging incorporated that cover or pinup shot, you could do it. And even if the general public didn't know the artist's name, they'd go, "Oh, I remember that comic," or "Wow, what a cool cover!" And then you could do that. That would be the trick there, because maybe not everybody recognizes, you know, Jose Delbo. I mean, who were you saying from the Marvel stuff in the 80s?
Oh God, I got to go back to my list. Wildman, obviously, Ian Aiken. Don Perlin, were some of the artists there.
Don Perlin, for example, not everybody's going to recognize his name, but they'll probably recognize a splash page or something.
Yeah, they'll be familiar with
the work. What Hasbro's doing with some of their other lines, you know, you've got the Star Wars Black series that had, I can't remember the dude's name, but the Green Rabbit, Star Wars character. You know, like I'm a
Bucky O'Hare?
big Star Wars fan. Right. I'm aware of who that rabbit is just from seeing it, but I've never read any of the stories. I know it's a creation from the Star Wars Marvel comics back in the 80s. That's all I know. And yet, you know, here's Hasbro making a toy of them, putting it out in a special release box. You know, you got your thirsty shirtless Darth Maul on that wave too. That's probably going to sell more of those toys. But you know, it's definitely something that we've seen. We've seen with you know, other companies doing homages to sort of 80s style. Look at what Hasbro's doing with some of these vintage Marvel toys that they're done with, like that 70s 80s style art packaging to make it look like that 70s 80s style Marvel kind of artwork from back in the day. So it's a smaller niche audience, but come on, they're making what, G2 Ramjet. You can't tell me that has a larger audience than what this would have.
That
That's fair.
Does.
I don't know about that.
G2 Ramjet is like one of the first CG Transformers ever shown to the public.
Yeah, but who the hell knows that outside of the 4 or 5 of us sitting here
everyone
right
now? Everyone that saw it blew their minds.
Come on. You know how old those kids are now?
They're not kids.
Yeah, that's right.
They're wasting their money on toys.
Yeah.
I don't need a 401k.
Generation 2 isn't a choice. It's a miracle given to us by the Hasbro gods.
I have a 401k too. It's all made of plastic, Phil. It's right here, man. It's right here.
Oh yeah, there you go.
The rumor is
that's appreciated better than your Bitcoin is these days.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry about it. Oh, let's not even go there.
No, I shouldn't have broached that topic.
The next Transformers movie is rumored to take place in like '92 as well, right? Maybe we get some G2 in the Transformers movie, right? No.
You think anybody making those movies is literate enough in the fiction to know that? Because I guarantee you they're not.
Probably not.
Are they literate at all?
Get Ben Yee a story consultant, and then that'll solve all the problems.
For real, though.
I mean,
yeah,
I wouldn't. I'd give that a shot.
Yeah. So is that our next pitch? Hire Ben Yee as your consultant.
Go back and redo the Transformers movies, but make them good this time.
Hey, at least Flint Dill, you know, like, what's he doing? Get him in there. What the hell?
Yep. All right, so who's our next pitch here?
I'll go.
Sure. sound excited, Paul.
Louis,
So remind me of the actual parameters of this fantasy.
your dream project, a toy line, a comic, a movie, a TV show, anything. Okay, one project.
I'm going to go. This is my actual dream for Hasbro and Transformers. It is that they stop being completely oblivious to the third-party stuff, and they just start giving out licenses to these companies to do the job, to do what they're good at, to actually pick the good ones, let them do what they want to do, because Hasbro's not going to do it, and allow them to legally sell this product as actual Transformer product. You don't just give it to anybody. But the fact that you give it to anybody means that when other people do it without your blessing, it's a lot easier to litigate against them and stop it. Because you show a precedent of, oh, we actually do. We do let people do this. We do have partners. We do like this stuff. We let people use our characters and make their own stuff. But we don't just let anyone do it. Because I would love some of those designs to be legit. Some of them are very good. I also think all those dumbos running those third-party companies don't know what they're doing, because they all release 15 Devastators at a time. And that does not do anyone any good. There's only one good Devastator in the end. So that is where...
And that would be Unite Warriors.
Honestly, yeah. They all have flaws. I mean, I always go to the official stuff in the end. But I do think that they're just being so silly by not addressing any of it, and not by ignoring it. They have zero power in the whole situation by actually working with some of these people that do very innovative stuff and make really cool advancements in toy technology. It gets them behind the 8 ball. So if they could work with these parties, these people, these groups of people that are decently competent, I think that'd be awesome.
The question I have on some of that stuff that I wonder is, if they license that, would they have to worry more about other companies going after them because the car models are too close or whatnot? So then they would have, say, for example, like a Jazz toy, right? Like, we've always heard that, Porsche won't give the license out to Hasbro, or that they just couldn't make a deal or whatever. And who knows what truth there is to it. But an example like that, where you're trying to do an actual, a race car or whatever it may be, and you're trying to make it spot on, is, if Hasbro gave that to the third party, are they opening themselves up that they could get sued by that car manufacturer for, that?
Well, the issue with this whole this is like a fantasy world, because once you have these rules in place, Hasbro has the final say on all of your stuff. So, and
there's also now all of a sudden it's all subject to safety testing and drop testing.
Everything has to pass legal and blah, blah,
and then the costs all quadruple.
Well, there's reasons that stuff exists so people don't get hurt. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
I don't see the system being broken right now, so I don't see the need to fix it.
Well, it's okay to be oblivious and stick your head in the sand, but it's not a good thing. It's not good. I don't like it. So that's what I would do. I would figure out a way to make it work. It would be a real painful transition, but I think everyone would be better off in the end.
From the consumer standpoint, what part of this is broken?
You can't just make whatever you want that someone else owns. You can try.
From the consumer standpoint, what is broken? I've got Fans Toy Galvatron here.
Awesome. From a collector standpoint, I don't want to have to collect any of that bullshit, because it starts getting unruly. There's no end to it, so the collection can never be complete.
Paul, that is not a Galvatron. That is a transforming Purple Man. So, get around. Or, I'm sorry, not even transforming. That's a converting Purple Man. that just happens to bear a resemblance to Galvatron. Yeah, it's but no, I agree. I don't know. It's kind of a funny line that they've been skirting now for all this time. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Hasbro is aware of this stuff, and that some of the designers, like, they're taking some of the cues from some of these figures and whatnot. So I don't know.
Yeah, intellectual property is a tricky subject, and everyone thinks they own something because they like it. But guess what? No one owns Transformers other than Hasbro. That's the way it is. Sorry.
Like, I'm not saying your idea is wrong. If you look at Disney, for instance, Disney licenses out their stuff to thousands of different companies to produce things. And like Mickey Mouse is being made by different companies all over the world in different shapes and sizes and forms. And Hasbro does that to an extent with all the non-toy Transformer stuff. So not to say that you couldn't do it. I just, again, from a consumer standpoint, what I view with the third-party marketplace is I'm getting MP quality toys for characters that Hasbro isn't making, that potentially Hasbro won't ever make or won't ever get to. I'm getting versions of the toys, like some of the reasons why the list I went through of which characters I want to see, like comic book true versions. Like, hey, guess what? MMC is doing a really awesome job of that. So I didn't list off some of those characters that MMC has already done. So I just feel like I'm getting, as a Transformer collector, I'm getting the toys of the characters I want. Yeah, I got to go and pay for a Toy Hack sticker sheet. But that's not a big problem. I mean, if your objection to that system is that as a collector, it's hard for me to complete my collection, I feel that's a very arbitrary line in the sand.
Well, I'm a fucking consumer too, and I'm telling you I don't like it. So we can both disagree, but I have a consumer standpoint just as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul, I could kind of see, too, where these third-party companies, like the production runs they make sell out, now. And do they really want to have to devote, like, play by Hasbro's rules and pay the extra licensing fees and things like that to sell it when they already, like, the successful ones that we'd probably be talking about to partner with them already are doing pretty well for themselves and whatnot, and do they really want to take that next step? I don't know. It'd be curious to see.
Of course they don't. Of course they don't. They wouldn't want to play ball, because then they wouldn't make any money.
Right.
But that's what the whole thing is all about. It's not making a cool toy. That's what the designers think. But the people manufacturing it and getting it made, it's all about money, and they shouldn't be doing it, because it's not their money to make. That's the way I feel about it, and that's if I was in charge, that's the dark future you'd all have. So it's a good thing I'm not.
Dude, what happened to you, man? You used to be cool.
I'm still cool. Don't worry.
You become the man. Turn into the man. Caring about Hasbro side of things. Empire.
Learn to swim.
So my pitch is kind of similar to I think someone in the chat had mentioned this before. Was it Enots? Or no, the FVGBE 342. So I think that there should be an aligned continuity with all of this fiction, that it should be kind of similar to Marvel and whatnot, where everything kind of plays together, and the toys are more aligned where they are, to where there's necessarily like one toy line, but you spin the toys and some of the size classes to different like age groups. So those Bumblebee toys that you have, the whatever, they're $20 deluxes, or if you want to make a 15 whatever, that those are the ones that are pointed towards the kids. And you could even have spin-off shows for those toy lines that still kind of sync in with the main show, but like personally, like I think we all would rather see more media for the toys that we collect, that are more, collector and G1 focused. And to me, I feel like if you could just pull that in, I think that the hard balancing act with that is that I at least personally don't like the Cyberverse quality. And so I would hate to have, like that happen with the Align continuity, and then our toys all go to crap and don't have paint apps and things like that. So, but I think that there's a way that you could do it to where, the cheaper toys could just be done smaller, still fit in, but then those aspirational toys, that Optimus Prime, that's the $50 with the trailer, whatever, that's your Christmas present or whatever, that they could try to time, some of the things like that to where it's
what happened? Where'd everybody go?
Yeah, I can see Paul.
I don't know. Apparently I don't know if the internet flashed for a second here or something.
Oh.
But you do it that way rather than, kind of the way that they're doing now, where they make, like in Cyberverse, they make 5 characters and they do it across 1,000 different size classes, for the figures. So I don't know. What do you guys think about doing more of an aligned continuity?
So are you basically saying we currently have like Masterpiece, Generations, and then the Kitty line. They're all the same. They all exist at the same time, but they're all the same story. Like the same universe storytelling.
Right, it would all be the same universe. So like say the movies, you'd have your movies, your cartoon, all that type of thing would all be same continuity. It would just be spin-offs of that continuity. So you'd have one story, like one movie that might be one aspect of it. But they would all be, a similar style. There would be that, G1-ish style. And maybe you kind of make it like similar to the Bumblebee movie or something like that. But then you have your cartoons that play on Netflix or YouTube or whatever, for the kids. But then that could be a like the Bumblebee cartoon show spun off from that universe. But it's still like the feelers, everything kind of still like loosely connects together so that it's one line rather than 3 or 4 different lines.
Similar to how Prime, Robots in Disguise, and Rescue Bots are all in the same continuity, and there was also the novels that were the same continuity. All of this stuff all played together in that aligned continuity, except that you'd pull it back a little further, is what you're saying. And the movies would be for one audience, and they'd have a closer picture on a smaller number of robots. The TV show would be the main cast and the main show, and then the kids show would be the kid-friendly character adventures. And it all plays in the same sandbox, even if we're looking at different windows into that sandbox.
Right, so it'd be one one overarching universe that makes sense that would get me to actually buy the like I don't buy Cyberverse, right? Because it's just I don't feel like it's the same thing. But if it was all one giant universe,
how would you get there? Would you do a Crisis on Infinite Cybertrons, or would you just start over?
I mean, I would think you'd want to start over, wouldn't you? Like, I would think that this would be something once we get done with whatever we're doing now, that you plan this out for a couple of years from now. And then, with the next movie, the movie kind of like starts it off. And then then you have your spinoff, you partner with Netflix, say, or whoever it may be, but instead of it being its own gritty whatever, like it ties into the movie.
Yeah, I think they would need to agree on a tone before they started writing anything.
Well, I don't even know if you have to do that. What I'm thinking, what Lucas is describing, is basically take this Transformers brand and turn it into what Disney has done with Star Wars. Because with Star Wars, you have the movies, you have the Mandalorian, and you have the Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch cartoons.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't have anything that skews super young with Star Wars.
Right.
So I don't know if Hasbro would still
for a
want to do
brief
that.
minute they had the Clone Wars shorts, the interstitials they were doing.
Okay.
If you remember. So that might be the closest
but the
analogy,
one thing
I guess.
like the one thing with Transformers though is like these are robots. There doesn't have to be any blood. So like you don't have to worry about an R rating. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't really have to be language and blood and right. I mean you could be Michael Bay and you could force
you
it
don't
in
have to be directly under the enemy scrotum.
Yeah.
Right. And so the thing is like you could always do it where it's always either PG or PG-13 or something like that. You know, with the movies, like none of this stuff has to be super dark. Like I don't think the Transformers has to, you know, necessarily be that way. It could, you know, kind of be on that line of, you know, not necessarily, you know, a very adult thing, like where it could play for both kids and adults. Mm-hmm. Plenty of properties do it.
Yeah, sure.
It probably stems, like most of these weird, when you compare Star Wars or some other franchise to Transformers, you know, the toys came first. It's a toy company that owns it. They're not really invested in like whether people get the story. And I bet they don't want that like long. They reboot it all the time because they're thinking of the world in toy trends.
Right.
You know, and how like if we're stuck in this same universe for 20 years, the toys are going to be stuck in that same universe for 20 years. So we can't pivot to make a major change.
Right, but I mean,
which I've never thought about it that way until right now.
I think that the comics did this pretty well, where they're always like getting new bodies and whatnot, refreshing their bodies and whatnot. So I mean, you could always do things like that.
You could build in the MacGuffin, even if you don't know what the trend is going to be in 5 years. You could make an outline, create this universe, and go, and then MacGuffin 3, whatever it might be, gives them all new bodies and powers, and this is the story that will happen. And then you just fill in the MacGuffin later. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Every year, it's like, oh, what are they going to look like this year? Sometimes it's the same character, sometimes it's not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Power Rangers is really loosey-goosey with their continuity and you know, it's different universes, but they still, like, they've started to tie things together a little bit more in the last couple of decades. But they play very fast and loose with that. But again, part of it is that they relaunch the toy line every couple of years. You know, the new show, the new characters, the new Zords, you know, the new play aspect of the toys. I'm not saying you couldn't do that with the Transformers toy line where you had a cohesive storyline, but you know, I think Hasbro probably looks more at the way Power Rangers has done it and probably wants to emulate that more than what Disney does with Star Wars.
Right.
Sure.
I remember when Animated came out, I was like, oh my God, they're going to do what Star Wars did with Clone Wars. And then, nope. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Then, you know, then they made the second movie, and then Prime came out. I was like, oh, now they're going to do it. Now they're going to do it. That's why they got rid of Animated, because they're like, we're going to do what Clone Wars did and make this continued version. Nope. So they've never successfully done it, but I think they would really benefit from it, like what you're suggesting, Lucas.
I think, though, Paul, you hit the nail on the head, though, is that, you know, Disney is a media company and they're trying to sell subscriptions to Disney Plus. That's the reason why they have all the extra content and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Whereas Hasbro is a toy company, they're trying to sell you toys. They kind of care enough, like they're essentially only giving enough effort to get you to buy more toys. Like it's not necessarily they're trying to sell the media. So I think that's probably a lot of our ideas and pitches and whatnot for DC is, unless Hasbro were to buy its own studio and get into that game, you know.
Bummer.
Yeah. But
great ideas. So.
I think it'd be cool, though. But I don't know.
Yeah.
But Don's idea, though. Don's will be the best. What do you think, Don?
Take us home, Don.
Yeah, what's your idea?
All right. I haven't had a lot of time to work on something new, so I'm going to pull something a little old out of my backside. But I think it has some fruit. However, I do believe it'll go opposite of what Lucas is saying. I am saying celebrate the differences of the Transformers history. Picture it. Sicily, 2024, 40th anniversary of Transformers, give or take. We make generations in name and concept. Again, I'm going back. This is an older thing. We go back to the Prime universe. We pick up with Miko. We see where the Prime universe is at, because it's a good kind of a blank slate. It's a good starting point in 0. For fans, we get to see where they left off. For non-fans, you could do the backstory. We see where the kids are at, what's been going on there.
What's your media format? Is this a comic? Is this a cartoon?
It's going to be a cartoon series with the Generations line as a toy tie-in.
Gotcha.
We pick up with Orion Pax arriving on Earth. It is from a parallel universe that we have never seen. So I'm combining Kamen Rider Decade, Sliders, and whatever universe you want to look at. This Orion Pax has got to get back to his home universe to defeat their Unicron. That universe's matrix is lost in the multiverse. So Miko, maybe Jack, this Orion Pax uses basically Orion Pax's technology he brought with him, the Sliders portion, and they revisit all the different Transformers continuities as a celebration of the variety that this universe has given us. They go to Generation 1. They go to Shattered Glass. They go to Beast Wars. They go to Animated. They go to the Armada trilogy. Maybe not in order. Maybe in order as an homage to the way that was done. As they travel from universe to universe, this is where you pick up the Decade portion for people that have seen Kamen Rider Decade. We see this universe. We see the differences. And it's done in the animation style of that original series. So that way you see what this universe is like being true to that universe. As they travel through, they pick up companions. I'm pulling this bit from Monster Rancher that was on 20 years ago. If you saw the Monster Rancher animated series here in the U.S., as they find pieces, as they find friends that are traveling with them, and then it's each of them have different reasons for traveling.
It's exiles.
Maybe they're,
Yeah,
it's
that's
exiles.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Marvel comic.
Oh, okay, good. I didn't think about that, but you're exactly right. And as they travel, when they finally get back to this Orion Pax's universe, it turns out the Matrix was dispersed, and each of these individual characters contain a fragment of this Matrix. That's why they were kind of drawn along on this journey. And then what we do is this Optimus Prime's universe is the next year's continuity. And then we pick up with an ongoing series in this parallel universe. So we use the Generations tag to travel through the multiverse, a journey through the decades, as you will, see what happened. You can either be in the middle of the Unicron trilogy with Energon. You can be after Prime and see what happens. You can be in that 20-year gap between the end of Generation 1 and the movie. So that way you're celebrating all the differences of the animation. And then when the series goes to end, it's that Orion Pax becomes Optimus Prime. And then the following year's series and the toy line is based on this brand new continuity that we're following from the very beginning, with Optimus Prime leading the Autobots. And what if I want to rope in another one of my ideas, we could do it a twist. It ends with Optimus Prime and Elita 1 being created. Okay? As far as the finale. The new series focuses on Elita 1 on Cybertron, not Optimus and them on Earth. And then about the time when you get Search for Alpha Trion, that's when you bring Optimus back into the mix. So you're sort of telling the Generation 1 story, but you're doing it from a elitist point of view on Cybertron fighting a guerrilla war. And then that is your new continuity in this new universe.
And it's called Thrilling 40, according to Zaldron. That was just too good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I'm not gonna lie.
Adventures of Miko
You had me at
the Adventures of
Sliders.
Miko and her amazing friends.
No, I dig this concept, and I think you've
I'm
seen
100% on board with this.
yeah, you've seen different, again, coming back to Power Rangers, they've done it. Marvel has done it with the comic book Exiles. DC's done it multiple times with their different multiverses and different crises where you have a team assembled from the different multiverses. And, it's I'd much rather see something like what you just described than what Netflix is doing.
That's true.
It's in no way original, but because it's Exiles, it's bits of Monster Rancher, it's Kamen Rider Decade.
Parts of tropes from all over science fiction. It doesn't mean it's not original.
Exactly, but I'm just saying it's sort of new for Transformers, and it's just a way to homage everything that came before, and then give birth to something brand familiar but brand new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if they could pull it off like that, that would be super cool.
Yeah, no, like
what you're saying. Like, hey, this is now the new series. Surprise! Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, that'd be great.
I think from
like
Hasbro's standpoint too.
Like in Generations toy line, you would get an animated Optimus. It's animated Optimus in this Generations Deluxe line, but it looks like animated Optimus. But it fits the line because it fits the show look, because it's done in the way the show was originally animated.
Well, I think from Hasbro's point of view too, if they could come up with their top 10 characters and just redo those, which they do this already, but you have your the Seekers and Megatron and Soundwave, and then you've got Optimus and Bumblebee and Grimlock and Prowl and whoever is a handful of Autobots, and then that's your series, and you're just always redoing those. Anyway, that's probably what they would rather be doing anyway, rather than doing all these other ones, because that's what sells. A new Optimus Prime is always going to sell.
Yeah. Well, just imagine, just as a little footnote, imagine they go to Shatterglass Universe, and they have their adventure there. Megatron Galvatron tells Cyclonus to travel with them, because this could affect their reality as well. So you have a good Cyclonus that looks like Hot Rod, by the way, traveling with them, seeing all the evil versions of the Decepticons. There's a lot of story potential with just Cyclonus seeing how he is as a evil Decepticon.
I want to see the bad guys, like whoever the main bad guy is, like one of his main, enforcers is just a multiverse team of bludgeons.
Like, I kind of want Tarantulas to be the main bad guy.
I was getting ready to say it was
as an agent of Unicron.
If you want to work a little bit of espionage into this, I'm glad you said that, because it reminded me of this. Remember Quantum Leap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the evil leaper?
Hell yeah!
Tarantulas is the evil leaper.
Yes. I'm sold. Take my money.
Yeah. And honestly, I remember, now, I will say, this was not necessarily playing with my Transformers as a kid. This was playing with my Transformers as a college kid. Yeah. I would do that, because you had, at that point, this was like the early RID or Armada ages. And it was like, all right, you've got different Transformers from different eras, different sizes. Like, it's a multiverse battle. It's mild. It's cliche. Not going to say it's not, but it's cliche because it keeps getting reused because it works.
You can play with tropes if you understand what you're doing, and do interesting things in subverting those tropes. It's all about that's good sci-fi, is when you understand the trope and how to subvert it.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing.
I want to see new alternate universes. Like, I want to see a Beast Wars universe.
Yeah.
But it's the original ARC Transformers that end up in Beast Wars. So you have all the Seekers as pterodactyls, and you have Optimus Prime as you know, a giant, you know, Triceratops or something. Give all the G1 dudes, you know, beast modes, and then have another universe where, you know, the Beast Wars characters all are you know, not beast machines per se.
Well,
but
sort of like that toy line that was being done, where Optimus Prime is the ape, Sideswipe is the bull, Bumblebee is the whatever he was.
Yeah. I like the idea of putting
go more Beast Wars where you get, you know, give me dinosaurs. I want dinosaurs.
Give me a Beast Machines universe where Dinobots survived.
I like the idea of putting the Beast Wars characters in the G1, like, you know, where they got to be vehicles, and they are like, why am I named Waspinator again? why is my name Dinobot? I'm a truck.
Well, but then it would be spelled DYNO bot, right? Isn't that what they did?
You know, those are the reasons I don't like Beast Wars.
God, that's so nitpicky.
Not really.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from.
I'm Pterosaur, the bowling ball.
So, like, so we've now hit on all three of like my favorite sci-fi things ever, with like Sliders and Exiles and Quantum Leap. I love that stuff. So, you know, kudos, Don.
Yeah, thank you.
Great concept.
Yeah.
So the question is to the viewers is, what do you think of all the pitches we've done so far? Who wins? Who's the best pitch so far? Which one would you guys pick up?
Epic toy battles of mystery. Who wins? Let me throw one more. Let me throw one more out there, and it's something I just thought of like today. This is by no means something I actually want to see, but something by no stretch of imagination would I think it'd ever get made. But it's just one of those crazy fever dreams. I kind of stole this from a How Did This Get Made little video they put out the other day, where they were talking about Fast and the Furious crossing over with Jurassic Park. I want to see Fast and the Furious crossover with Bayverse Transformers.
That almost happened.
That
was like big rumor for many years.
Maybe that's why it's in my brain, is that there were rumors that I read about that. But yes, I want to see the crazy stupidity of Fast and the Furious meeting with the crazy stupidity of the Bayverse. And I get it. A lot of the Bayverse movies are basically Fast and the Furious, but with Transformers. But I mean, I want to see, you know, The Rock and Vin Diesel and Paul Walker's Ghost and Starscream's Ghost teaming up.
It's just Paul Walker flying in a dead Starscream. He just gives a salute as he flies overhead.
There you go. So yeah, I figured I'd end it with that sort of nonsense.
So it looks from the chat that we're all kind of tied here.
My topic, and I'm just fucking dead last.
It looks like Don gets first, according to Zaldron, and Paul gets second. Catherine says that she likes my idea first, then Don. Zaldron said Phil gets third. Spaceboy says Paul. So we've got quite the. Nick, no one mentioned you. I'm sorry.
I know. I suck. It's fine. I'm
really, people forgot about your idea.
Apparently the DVDs.
I know. I wasn't warmed up yet. I was all like stuttering. It's okay.
So. Apparently people are not wanting to add to their DVD collections at this point. So sorry, Nick.
That's all right. I say these things for my own entertainment. That's all that matters.
So, but yes, I would love, by the way, like More Than Meets the Eye, like on some type of a cartoon.
Oh yeah.
You know, somewhere. I mean, I think everyone would, but you know, everyone that's read that story would love to see it in animated form.
Yeah. I don't think they'll ever do a whole series, but I see the universe where they do short features.
Yeah.
There's been so many fan groups that have like tried to do it, you know, like turn the comics into episodes. And I'll say some of them have been all right. I've been like pretty excited to see how far they go, and they all give up after like episode 2 because it's a lot of work to make that stuff.
Oh, 100%.
Some of the voice actors have been great. Just if you're out there, you're listening, keep doing it. Don't give up.
So Zaldron says he wants to see the rest of RID 15 on DVD. So, yeah, that wasn't a bad show, Paul.
No, I mean, I know. I haven't even seen the Starscream episodes. I really should. I know that they're
They're interesting. That's where you felt like they had bringing more of the Prime Universe back in, because the show started off that it was Prime Universe and then quickly ignored it.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing, is that it's supposed to be a continuation, yet
not.
They only added bits and pieces near the end when they realized, oh yeah, it's supposed to be a continuation. So here's the Digimon World Tour back in when the end of 2002 was going on to tie it all back together. It's just 2015 already just sort of left a bad taste in my mouth.
It was one of those shows where, they were trying to do it for kids, but you still had rescue bots. So it's just like, you had the Machinima series that was more for the adults, and that was just garbage. Like, honestly, in my opinion, the best cartoon they were putting out at that time was Rescue Bots.
100%. It's a good show.
Yeah.
That's why I was on YouTube watching More Than Meets the Eye fan-made videos.
I don't fault you.
So, and speaking of that, book club this week is going to be More Than Meets the Eye 42 through 44. So that is on Sunday nights at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central on the TF Talk Discord. So the link's on Twitter and the YouTube and whatnot if you don't have it. But that's a lot of fun. So join them, to talk about it. So. Well, thanks, guys, for joining me this week. It was a lot of fun. And thank you to everyone in the chat tonight. Zaldron, Catherine, Space Boy, let's see, Enots, the FVG, Trent's 5.
Space Boy,
Destron was in there earlier.
Space Boy, I gotta ask, is that a Smashing Pumpkins reference? If so, we miss you.
There you go. Well, does anyone have any final thoughts before we wrap?
I feel like we didn't get to hear Anna's thoughts on this. She was going to pitch us a role-playing game tonight, and I would have loved to have heard about that. So, Anna, we missed you.
Yeah, sorry, Anna, but apparently she was playing some type of role-playing game, and that couldn't make the show. So
Fantasy Star.
I feel like several of these ideas give us the best of Transformers, both in stories and in toys.
Yeah, there did seem to be a theme with all of us. It's like, we want this thing that celebrates all of it. How do we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Paul, sorry, the answer, the Space Boy is David Bowie reference, not Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah.
It's a good one, too.
It's kind of like levels there.
So... All right, well, thanks everyone joining us. Thanks, Don, for coming back and giving us your idea as well.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me back, guys. I'm sorry it's been a while. It's just getting engaged in life. Like everyone knows, last year was the longest 5 years of my life, as it was for a lot of people. So, but I'm really glad to be back, even if it's only for just right now.
Yep.
Thank you for joining.
Life happens. Yep.
It also finds a way.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone, and we will see you next week.
Now kiss.